What if I told you the fastest path to building lasting wealth isn't grinding harder, but mastering one simple habit that protects you from burnout? Les Brown discovered this key habit, and it's the very reason he was able to rise from nothing to become one of the most respected motivational voices in the world, without collapsing under the weight of constant hustle. And here's the twist. Most people chasing wealth are doing the exact opposite, unknowingly sabotaging both their health and their future. I'm Walt, and today I'm going to share the surprising habit Les Brown practiced to build wealth while staying energized and focused, and more importantly, how you can implement it immediately in your own life. But before we dive into the details, let me ask you a blunt question. How long do you think you could keep pushing yourself at your current pace before exhaustion forces you to stop? That question alone might reveal why most people never make it to true wealth. Les Brown often warned about the trap of what he called busy poverty. People stay constantly busy, answering emails, running from one task to the next, working long hours. But when you look at their results, they're still financially stuck. Why? Because being busy isn't the same as being productive. The wealthy know how to focus on high-value activities, while everyone else wastes their energy on noise. But here's the part almost nobody talks about. Focusing isn't enough if you don't protect your energy. And this is exactly where Les Brown's secret habit comes in. He called it deliberate recovery. Not just rest, but intentional, scheduled recovery built directly into his daily routine. Sounds almost too simple, right? But this is the exact discipline that allowed him to perform at a world-class level for decades. Think about professional athletes. They don't just train non-stop. They prioritize recovery as much as performance. Yet when it comes to wealth building, most people never even consider this. They just push until they crash. Now here's the fascinating part. Science actually backs Les up. Studies on peak performers, from CEOs to elite athletes, show that the most successful people follow an energy cycle. 90 minutes of deep, focused effort, followed by short, deliberate recovery periods. This rhythm allows them to sustain peak performance for years, while others flame out after a few seasons of hustling. So let me ask you, are you living like a sprinter, burning yourself out, or like a marathoner, pacing yourself strategically for the long game? But here's where Les Brown took it even further. He didn't just rest randomly when he felt tired. He scheduled his recovery with the same seriousness he scheduled his speeches, his business meetings, and his writing sessions. For him, downtime wasn't wasted time. It was wealth-building time, because it preserved his energy to keep going. And here's the part that may surprise you. He considered this habit not optional, but mandatory. And in a moment, I'll share exactly how he structured it, so you can try it for yourself. But before I reveal the structure, let's look at what happens if you don't. Without deliberate recovery, your brain falls into what psychologists call decision fatigue. That's when every choice starts to feel harder. Your creativity dries up, and you resort to shortcuts or procrastination. Ever notice how at the end of a long day, it's almost impossible to make smart financial decisions? That's not laziness. It's your brain running out of fuel. And if you're constantly operating in that depleted state, you're not building wealth. You're digging yourself into a deeper hole. So what's the solution? Les Brown's method was surprisingly simple. He designed his day around cycles of intense focus, followed by deliberate restoration. That could mean a 15-minute walk outdoors, listening to uplifting audio, or simply practicing gratitude and visualization quietly. But here's the real secret. He treated these recovery moments as seriously as work itself. He once said, "You can't pour from an empty cup. You've got to refill yourself daily." And the wealthiest people in the world quietly do the same thing, whether they call it meditation, reflection, or strategic rest. Now you might be wondering, how exactly does this habit translate into building wealth? Because it might sound like just self-care. Here's the twist. When your mind is clear and your energy is high, you make sharper decisions. You see opportunities faster. You respond to setbacks with resilience instead of panic. In fact, a Harvard study showed that leaders who integrated deliberate recovery into their schedule were not only more productive, but also generated significantly higher long-term profits. Think about that for a second. Rest isn't slowing you down, it's multiplying your returns. But let me ask you a crucial question. When was the last time you scheduled recovery with the same discipline you scheduled your work? Not collapsing on the couch at midnight, not scrolling endlessly on your phone, but intentional, restorative recovery designed to refuel you for your mission. If the answer is rarely, you now know why building wealth feels like a struggle instead of a flow. And here's where it gets even more powerful. Les Brown discovered that deliberate recovery didn't just protect his energy, it sharpened his vision. During his recovery moments, he often reflected on his goals, visualized his future, and aligned himself mentally with where he wanted to go. In other words, his recovery time became creative time. That's when ideas came, strategies crystallized, and breakthroughs happened. What if your next million-dollar idea isn't hiding in more hours of grind, but in the quiet space you've been neglecting to give yourself? Now here's what I want you to do. For the next 7 days, test Les Brown's method. Structure your day into 90-minute focus blocks. After each block, take 15 minutes for deliberate recovery. No screens, no distractions, just activities that recharge you. At the end of each day, journal for 5 minutes about what worked and what didn't. It sounds simple, but this small shift could radically change the way you work, think, and earn. And we're only scratching the surface, because Les Brown added one more twist to this habit, something that separates it from every generic rest advice you've ever heard. And once you hear it, you'll understand why this habit doesn't just prevent burnout, but actively accelerates wealth. Here's the twist Les Brown added that makes this habit a true wealth accelerator. He combined deliberate recovery with what he called purposeful reflection. Instead of using his downtime to escape or zone out, he used it to zoom out. He would ask himself powerful questions. What did I learn today? What worked? What drained me? What should I change tomorrow? This small shift meant his recovery time wasn't just recharging his body, it was sharpening his mind. And over time, those small daily reflections compounded into extraordinary growth. Think about the difference. Most people hustle all day, collapse at night, and repeat the same mistakes tomorrow. Les built in micro pauses to review and refine, turning every day into a lesson. That's how you get better without burning out. So ask yourself right now, are you simply repeating the same grind every day? Or are you deliberately learning and adapting as you go? Now here's where this gets even more practical. Les Brown often told the story of how early in his career he would finish a speaking engagement and immediately jot down what went well and what he needed to improve. That habit alone, paired with deliberate recovery, helped him refine his craft at lightning speed. Instead of waiting months to figure out what was working, he adjusted daily. Imagine applying that same principle to your career, your business, or your investments. How much faster could you accelerate your wealth if you were constantly learning without draining yourself? But here's the challenge. You and I both know the world rewards hustle culture. Everywhere you look, the message is grind harder, sleep less, sacrifice everything. And yes, there are seasons where intensity is required. But here's the reality most people miss. You can't outwork exhaustion. At some point, fatigue will win. Les Brown's brilliance was realizing that the game isn't about working the most hours. It's about working the right hours with the right energy. That's how you outlast everyone else. Let me give you an example from outside the world of motivational speaking. Think about Warren Buffett. He spends the majority of his day reading and thinking. On paper, it doesn't look like work, but that deliberate pacing is exactly why his decisions are so consistently profitable. He protects his energy and focuses it only where it matters most. That's the same principle Les Brown was applying in his own way. Deliberate recovery isn't about laziness. It's about maximizing your output by carefully managing your input. Now let's open another question. How do you start if your schedule already feels packed and overwhelming? The answer is deceptively simple. Start smaller than you think you need to. Even 5 minutes of purposeful recovery every 90 minutes can make a measurable difference in your energy and clarity. And once you feel the benefits, you'll naturally expand the habit. The key is consistency, not duration. But what about when life throws curveballs? Unexpected demands, urgent deadlines, or setbacks that force you to push beyond your rhythm? Les Brown's advice here was straightforward. Never let chaos become your default. Handle the crisis, then return immediately to your recovery rhythm. Because the moment you let emergencies dictate your life permanently, burnout is guaranteed. And burnout is the silent killer of dreams. How many talented people do you know who simply ran out of energy before their breakthrough? Don't let that be you. Here's the inspiring part. When you master this habit, wealth creation stops feeling like an uphill battle. Your energy stabilizes, your creativity expands, and opportunities seem to appear naturally because you're actually able to recognize them. That's the hidden power of Les Brown's approach. He didn't just preserve his health, he amplified his results. He built wealth not in spite of recovery, but because of it. So let me leave you with this challenge. Over the next week, protect your energy as fiercely as you protect your money. Schedule your recovery like you schedule your work. Ask yourself daily what you've learned, what needs adjusting, and how you can return tomorrow sharper than today. Do this, and you'll not only avoid burnout, you'll discover a level of clarity and momentum most people never experience. The question is, are you willing to break free from the myth of non-stop hustle and try the wealth-building rhythm the greats quietly rely on? Because if you are, you're about to experience what Les Brown called the real secret to sustainable success: wealth without burnout, achievement with joy, and progress with peace of mind.